Hi everyone, and welcome to the BoldChess show. I'm your host Roland, and with me the international master Luis Medarde. In this video, we will explain the Ruy Lopez Spanish opening. This is your complete, concise guide for covering this opening, and we have designed it for absolute beginners. If you are below 1900, or even below 1500, you can watch this video and learn a lot from it. Master Luis is here with us. He's going to explain everything regarding this opening. For the newcomers who don't know what is the Ruy Lopez opening, or the Spanish opening, sometimes we read it as the Spanish game, is one of the oldest and most analyzed openings in chess history. All the top chess players played it throughout their chess careers, and it's very rich, very deep, which why many beginners find it extremely difficult for them to study this opening or to understand what lines they need to focus on. This is exactly why we have Master Luis on this call to guide us throughout this opening and to explain all the best lines or the major lines that every beginner needs to be aware of if he is attempting this opening. Despite the fact that this is a very rich and deep opening, it's good to know that players can enjoy this opening at all levels. And in fact, it enforces lots of good opening principles. It's not just about playing what your international master or grandmaster is playing, but also it's about experiencing the same lines of logic, which would greatly help you in becoming a better tactical player and positional player as well. This is one of the few openings that players can enjoy regardless of their style. Even if they are a tactical player or a positional player, they can still have a very good time playing this specific opening. And some historical background about it, it's named after the 16th century Spanish priest by the same name. And according to the Encyclopedia of Chess Openings, all the codes from C60 to C99 are assigned to the Ruy Lopez. So it's a very rich opening. If you like to check all these lines from C60 to C99, they're all available online. Master Luis, thank you so much for being here with us on the call and for preparing this special video for us. We have always been excited to have you and to start this opening series of videos on YouTube.
It's my pleasure to be here. This is one of the best, most popular, and most important openings like we can talk about. So yeah, I think it's like we couldn't start with a better opening. Well, here we are. First of all, you might be asking what is the Ruy Lopez, okay? The Ruy Lopez is when white goes c4, black plays c5. This is probably the most common move, and we attack the pawn. Black defends the pawn, and we go bishop e5. So after bishop e5, first of all, white will be able to castle very soon. And white is also creating some little threat of, at some point, taking the knight and taking the then undefended pawn. So this is basically the idea. Is a very rich opening, and we are going to see some of the main lines. I'm going to start with knight f6 here. There are many moves in this position, but the main two moves by far is a6, what is the main move that we are going to see in a moment, and knight f6. Knight f6 is very trendy nowadays. It's called the Berlin defense. It's very solid, and it helped Kramnik to beat Kasparov and gain the World Championship match 24 years ago. Basically, what black is doing right now is to attack the pawn. White can defend the pawn by playing d3. This is normal, and well, usually black develops, and game goes on. Or white can play short castle, that used to be the main move. But the main thing is that after knight takes e4, if white goes rook e1, knight d6, we take the pawn. We try to create some cuts here. Usually black takes, we take back, we're giving a check. Black develops. Now we have to be careful with the bishop, so we retreat it. Answer castle. This is kind of clear that black's position is very solid, the structure is symmetrical. The misplaced piece is a knight on d6, but black usually regroups the knight in the next few moves. and he tends to equalize more or less. One of the main lines is this one. Okay, black attacks our rook, we go back, and in a position like this one, black is okay. Knight f5 is an idea later to control the center, and black is doing okay. The main discovery that Kramnik did, well, 25 years ago more or less, is that after knight e6, white takes on c6, black takes back, and well, we played this series of kind of forcing moves. This endgame used to be considered bad for black because he cannot castle, his king's in the center, and his structure is a bit worse than white's structure, but actually, right now we kind of know that black is doing okay here. There are many moves, and there is some theory. I'll show you one of the normal lines. Okay, x3, we try to go g4 at some point, we will improve our pieces, we develop, and one possible line is to go something like this. But black is supposed to be fine in general. So this is if knight f6. Another option could be d3, and after bishop c5, game goes on. c3 is possible, for example, castles, or maybe d6, but okay. Like, game is unequal, more or less. And we're gonna go with the main move, that is when, after bishop a5, black goes a6. After a6, white has two options. The exchange variation, with this bishop takes e6, or bishop a4. I'm gonna start with bishop a4. Usually black goes knight f6, and the main move here is to castle. If black takes on e4, we can go rook e1 or d4, and later white gets the pawn back and gets a fine position. Taking on e4 is called the open variation that we are about to see. For now, I just wanted to mention that this line, this position after e6, is called the Morphy defense. Morphy is one of the best players in the history of chess, and at some point he was the strongest player in the world and is one of my favorite players. In the open variation that I was talking about, it's knight f6 or castle and knight takes e4. There are many moves here, okay, but the main one is d4. Rook e1 is supposed to be not that accurate, not that aggressive somehow. So usually white goes d4. The idea is that if black takes, we go rook e1, now this knight is pinned. What is a problem for black, and if black goes d5, we can go knight takes e4, putting pressure against this knight, and at the same time cutting f3, winning the knight. There is still some theory here, but white is supposed to be a bit better, and actually, okay, he is. So the main move in this position is to go b5, attack the bishop, we retreat the bishop, and black goes d5, defending knight. We take on e5, and basically game goes on, and it's in between equal and a bit better for white. Black defends the pawn with bishop e6, and white continues the development. c3 is one of the main moves nowadays. The main reason is that now that this pawn is defended, black could go knight c5 at some point trying to take the bishop pair. So we give a square to retreat the bishop. Bishop e7 is possible here, but nowadays I consider this to be the main move, or at least an interesting one, and after something like knight bd2, sword castle, bishop c2, there is this interesting line where white gets two pieces in return for rook and two pawns, and well, position is in between equal and slightly better, as I said. And yeah, this is the open variation. It's a very interesting one. It's becoming trendy at top level. For example, Fabiano Caruana, one of the best players in the world, used it in the candidates against Hikaru Nakamura in a game that Hikaru ended up winning after a great endgame. So yeah, taking on e4 is possible, but it doesn't solve all the problems for black, or at least like he's still under a bit of pressure. Another important line, as I mentioned earlier, is what happens is if we take on c6 here, this is called the exchange variation because of obvious reasons. Usually black takes with the d pawn. For some of you this might be a bit surprising, but it has a few ideas. One is that it opens the d5 for the queen and also the diagonal for the bishop. Both things are important, as after knight takes c5, the best move for black is to go queen d4, attack the knight, attack the pawn, and get back the pawn that black had lost in the next move. And if white castles, there are many moves here: f6, queen f6, knight e7, bishop e6, and well, some other moves. But one of them is bishop g4. I'm going to show you a little line here, just because it illustrates how important it is to take with the d pawn, and because I think it's quite instructive. So usually white goes h3 and black plays h5, very aggressive. The idea is that after takes, this file is open and black gets an attack, as we'll see later in the traps section. Usually white goes d3, black tries to increase the pressure, and after bishop e3, usually this endgame is reached where position is around equal. Okay. So yeah, bishop d6, not a line that is very trendy, but still a decent line. For example, Fischer used it, and well, many grandmasters have played it. It's considered to be around equal, but it might surprise 0 points, and well, it's an interesting line. One advantage is that the pawn structure usually is defined very early, so if you have experience in this pawn structure, might give you an advantage. The close variation is, well, after a6, bishop a4, knight f6, we already saw this. Short castle, bishop e7. It's good to explain that after, imagine bishop e7 takes, knight takes e5. Once black has played bishop e7, now he can take on e4, because after rook e1, imagine, for example, knight f6, this bishop on e7 blocks the file to make sure knight takes e6 doesn't come with check. So for that reason, black doesn't need to go b5 yet, because he's not afraid of losing this pawn. After rook e1, once this pawn is defended, black has to do something about this one, so it's when he goes b5, white goes bishop b3, and now black plays d6. With d6, black defends the pawn, and if this pawn is defended, this knight can move to a5, trying to grab the bishop on b3. White has different moves. Main move is e3. It has two ideas. One is that after knight f5, white can go bishop c2 and save the bishop, and the other one is that helps white to play in the center with d4. Black plays short castle. Usually white goes h3. d4 is possible, but after d4, bishop g4 is fine for black because of this pin. So usually white starts by playing h3, avoids the pin, with the idea of playing d4 next. In this position, black has many alternatives. It's probably the richest, or one of the richest positions in chess. A lot of history here, a lot of lines. I'm going to show you a line with knight a5, which is called the Chigorin, but knight b8 is also very popular, which is the Breyer variation. I think we might consider it as a main move nowadays. Also rook e8, h6, bishop b7, and even some other moves are fine. After knight f5, black is threatening our bishop, so we retreat it. c5, white goes d4, as he was planning, and black plays queen c7. White keeps developing, and in one of the main lines, black trades on d4 to try to put pressure against this pawn. White defends the pawn with knight b3. Black tries to kick the knight out, but as he still needs one more tempi, white goes bishop e3 to make sure after a4 he goes knight b2, but this pawn is defended and the bishop has been developed. So this position is in between equal and slightly better for white. These lines are very complex. We might do a longer course for more advanced players or for people that are very interested in this line, but all the finesses that we can learn about the pawn structure here, when white wants to close, when white wants to take, how to keep the tension, and all these kind of motifs, is really difficult. So for now we'll just have a great overview, but we cannot go deeper yet. So this is one possible line, and yeah, white is doing fine here. The martial attack is when black starts with the close variation, bishop e7, rook e1, as we were seeing, b5, bishop b3, and here is where black plays a different move. He goes short castle. So after short castle, usually white goes c3, at least it used to be the main move. One of the reasons is just to transpose. I mean, white's plan is c3 and d4. White usually includes a3 before going d4 to avoid bishop d4. So c3 is part of white's plan, and at the same time, in some way, playing a3 doesn't make a lot of sense because there was no bishop g4 coming, so c3. And here is when black plays the Marshall gambit or Marshall attack, d5, giving up the pawn after e d5, knight x d5, knight x d5, knight x d5, rook x d5. White is a pawn up, but these pieces are still not developed, and black will get a good initiative after c3, defending the knight. Black plans to go bishop d6, queen h4, and attack on h2, and this position is supposed to be around equal, where despite being up and down, black has some initiative and he's doing fine. One line is bishop g4, or one idea is bishop g4, bishop 3 later, trying to mate here. Sometimes this rook comes and joins attack, so yeah, white has to be careful. Objectively speaking, the positions are unequal, but it's still a very fighting and very interesting position. And I'll cover one of the sidelines here, what is f5. This is called the Janis gambit or the Schliemann defense. And after f5, usually white plays either d3 or knight c3. Both are very interesting and both are good. I'll go with d3, as we might consider the main move and the calmer one. After, for example, black takes, he develops with just castle. And black goes d6, trying to defend the pawn. White goes bishop c4, very interesting and very accurate move, trying to avoid bishop e6 and making sure black struggles in case he wants to castle. For example, black can go bishop e4, we kick the bishop out, and after bishop h5 we develop. This position is fine for white. It's one of the many possibilities, and yeah, the plan is to continue developing, maybe at some point play a3, queen d3, bishop g5 or bishop e3, rook d1, even g4 is possible. It depends on where black castles. We might think about pushing our pawns on the queen side, trying to checkmate black. So long story shorter, white is doing fine here. Then these are the main lines in the Ruy Lopez defense. This is a very rich opening. It has been played for many years at top level chess, and I have many times heard that every grandmaster needs to understand the Ruy Lopez to become as strong as he is. It's very rich, it has a lot of maneuvering, and you can learn a lot from studying this opening. So yeah, it's a very interesting one. Answering one of the important questions here, do I think it is a good idea for beginners or for amateurs? My answer will be that it depends. I think it's an opening that you will learn a lot from. You can improve your chess knowledge and your chess understanding by studying it and by playing. And if you want long-term results, it might be helpful, as you are gonna play many different kind of positions, many different pawn structures. I mean, you will play a very rich strategical position. You will have to attack many times in the king side, so it makes you a better player. So I think it's a good idea to play it, it's a good idea to study it, but the drawback of playing this is that it's black who might choose what line to play. You have to be ready to face different lines, and it's not an opening that will be very surprising for your opponents, as probably they will encounter it kind of usually. So in the short term, some gambits, some surprising weapons, some more aggressive line might be better, but I think in the long term, it's a very good opening, and you can see that there are many games from top players, and the earlier you start studying it and you start playing it, the easier will be for you to keep playing it and to understand it once you become very strong. So, long story shorter, yes, it's a great opening, yes, it's good if you play it, but if I have to be honest, at short term might not be the best option, or for completely beginners might not be the best option, and they might have to focus in playing some sort of gambit, some more open line that gives them some attack to try to understand and to practice how to play with initiative, how to sacrifice material, and how to attack. But this is a good opening, and I like it a lot. So thanks a lot for being here. I hope you liked the opening, and I hope you try it in your games, okay?
All right, everyone. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed all the lines in the Ruy Lopez opening. For all the students and the newcomers here, we have a full chess academy at BoldChess.com. We cover everything you need from openings to end games, tactics, positions, and even we have a complete plans and checklist prepared by our international master, Luis Medarde. We have also a clear path on how you can achieve 2000 rating in chess, step by step, what you need to do and what you have to follow. Thank you so much, Luis, for this amazing lesson. We will see you soon next week.
My pleasure. Yeah, see you soon.
All
Bye.
the best. Thank you.